Hi everyone, I'm Mike, and welcome to my shed. Um, Now you're probably wondering, why am I sitting in a shed? Well, my house is kind of noisy. I go in the basement. There's a cat in the litter box, scratching along. There's people upstairs walking around. There's TVs on. There's music on. There's footsteps, and there's the furnace, and you name it. So I thought, where's the only place on my property that's quiet? It's my shed. You want to know how this whole thing is actually about just trying, getting out and doing something in spite of all the obstacles in your way. So I wanted to start a YouTube channel with just to give some advice, and it's kind of actually kind of appropriate that I'm in the shed, because I might call this whole thing shedding light, and just to kind of give advice, or just to kind of bring you up to speed on things you might not know about, just to kind of help you somehow. And So what I'm trying to say is, I wanted to do this so badly that I resorted to coming out in the shed, and I'm sitting on my John Deere 160 lawnmower, probably 38 years old now. And I'm sitting here. There's the steering wheel, if you can see it. This is how much room I have in my shed. It kind of goes just to here to here. And Anyway, this is the spot I found, and this is where I think I can at least communicate and not feel self-conscious, other than being a guy talking to himself in a shed. Anyway, so my my topic today is going to be about trying. And you know we stop ourselves in so many ways from doing anything in this life, just because we convince ourselves that we can't. And it's all in our heads. All it takes is making an effort. And there's a lot of people who've been on YouTube, I've watched them all, saying the same thing: you got to try. You're not going to achieve anything by doing nothing. And so this attempt right here is my you know, way of trying to do something. Now, let me give you a little background about myself. I'm not one who doesn't try. Um, when I was in high school, I was a marginal basketball player, but there were people that were a lot better than me that didn't start. I started, but because I worked harder, I tried harder. I didn't take no for an answer. I didn't allow my thoughts to say that this guy's better than me. I had the thoughts that I'm better than him. And Time has kind of you know uh, maligned that thinking for me over the years. I've been in the marketing business, which is kind of soulless, and that kind of sucks away a lot of your confidence, because everything you do every single day is put up for scrutiny. And so I would come up with ideas, and it's like skeet shooting. Idea goes out, it goes down quick too. Anyway, but I was always the kind of guy who um, would always try. I've been on the radio. I've been a marketing copywriter. I did stand-up comedy for 3 or 4 years with decent success. Never got heckled, and always made people laugh. And most recently, after many, 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 many years of trying, I had a screenplay I wrote, filmed. Um, didn't come out the way I wanted it to, but that's another story. But that's how it goes. You hand over the baby sometimes, and sometimes, you know, the only time you see the baby again is when the diaper's dirty, and that's kind of what happened with me. But again, that's another story. Maybe I'll tell it to you sometime. But if you're right now out there sitting, wondering whether you can do something or not, you can. You just have to get out and try. It comes down to so many things. I have two kids. I say kids now, in their 20s, and they stop themselves all the time. I don't know if it's generational, or if it's just the way it is, the way it's always been, but they will oftentimes talk themselves out of a lot of good things. And I always say, all you got to do is try. How do you know if you don't ask that girl out? Or how do you know uh, if you don't throw this thing out there and see if, maybe you're right for that job? And how do you know if you don't ask? You know, so you got to make the effort. You got to get up. You got to decide, I'm going to get out in the shed, which I did today. It's a beautiful day. What the hell am I doing sitting in a shed on an old lawnmower? That's another thing. I would love to transform this shed into a little studio, but there's a lot of crap in here, and it's you could say that a lot of the stuff in here is just from hoarding over the years. but we've accumulated things, just from our own family and in-laws and everything like that. The one thing you don't want to hoard, that you don't want to store up, are your dreams. And you want to make sure that you constantly clear them out, try them out. Never leave a dream on the shelf, because, like I said, when it comes right down to, like, for example, my screenplay being made into a film, which is, by the way, let me give you a statistic. Out of 67,000 screenplays sent in to Hollywood every year, I think, was it like 700 get made, something like that. That's so I kind of won the lottery. It's kind of dubious, but I achieved something. I tried. So, without belaboring the point, whatever you have going on in your mind right now, whatever you have that's bugging you, that I really wish I could do that. I really wish I could do that. Do it. The bottom line is, try. Step out of your comfort zone. Hear all the cliches. I know them by heart. I'm a cliche machine. I really am. I've turned into one. But that's a mantra I'll always beat, like, over and over and over, is try. You, you're just sitting there thinking about it. And if you just take a little action, it could be a couple keystrokes on the keyboard toward a novel or a screenplay. It could be a brick toward a new patio. It could be, a step or two around the block leading to better health. One workout, as painful as it might have been, could lead to unbelievable changes for you health wise. I'm not saying anything y'all don't know. It's the thing that sticks in your head. We can't let our minds beat us, because it's all made up. It's all garbage. It's just made up in our heads. People can say, I have anxiety, I have this, I have that. I think they become crutches now, you know, and it's not meant to offend anybody, but I'm someone who's suffered from it in a lot of ways myself. And I've only found that has been alleviated when I've done something about it, right? But for the most part, I'd say in my lifetime, I've always tried to do the things that I've been, you know, feeling that's gnawing at me. I've written music. I said I've written screenplays. I've been in some major publications with some poems and stories I've written, because I threw it out there. And you don't realize how many times you'll get rejected, but all it takes is one yes. You know, so give things a try. Don't don't second guess yourself. Um, it sounds cliche again, but something my mom and dad always said: things always work out one way or the other, and they do. Somehow, some way. You always look in that rearview mirror and you say, "I got through that. I did it." I always think of Chevy Chase in Christmas Vacation. It's just, it kind of sums it up. When you get to that point where you've made all this effort, and through all the pain, all the grief, all the, hearing all the bad mouthing from anyone who didn't believe in what you were doing, or in you. And when he finally got through that whole day and had his great family Christmas kind of coalesce in the end, and the meaning came across to him, what it all really did mean. He looked up at the moon and he goes, I did it. And you can too. Till next time, we'll see you later. Shedding some light from the shed.